Hi guys, this is a little bit of a long video, so grab something to drink and a snack, and I hope you enjoy. Hi guys, how you doing? It's me. Different setting. I'm not feeling the best, so I'm just laying on the couch today. But I wanted to talk to you guys because someone suggested that I tell my story. So as you can see from the title, that this is going to be the story of how I went from being an EMT to being disabled. I pretty much had weird jobs growing up. Well, not so much weird. Like, I was administrative assistant. I worked at a casino. Um, I worked in a hair salon a couple times. I sold Kirby vacuum cleaners. And they just really weren't my thing. So I decided to go become an EMT. It's just something random, and it was just like, you know what? I like helping people. Let me become an EMT. So I went to school, passed my test, and became an EMT. I worked two jobs. I worked for a private company that did mostly transport, like to doctors and dialysis, of people who couldn't walk or weren't in a wheelchair that were bedbound. And then I worked 911 also, so which basically, as it sounds, anytime you call it 911, I would be the ambulance driver that showed up. One day, I was in the back of my ambulance treating a patient, and my partner had a bump, and I went up and down in the ambulance, and next thing you know, when I came down, I couldn't feel my legs. I wound up not being able to feel my legs for, I think it was 3 days. And I started getting, it was just swelling that was pushing on my back. And I had injured the lower part of my back. It's like L5, S1 or something like that. Anyway, but I did physical therapy for a while, and I went back to being an EMT. But I realized that because of the injury to my back, it wasn't going to happen. Now, while I was an EMT, I met my husband, and at the time we were just friends. I didn't actually physically meet him in person until a while later. So fast forward, I'm done being an EMT. I moved to Missouri, and then I meet my husband. So, as you can tell, I got pregnant with my twins. And during the pregnancy, it was a very difficult pregnancy. I developed a heart condition, which they didn't really understand what it was, which they still don't understand what it is because it hasn't gone away. It's basically where the chronic tachycardia comes from. So my heart would race, and then it would just cause me to pass out. So I used to pass out a lot when I was pregnant, which is kind of, as you can tell, not a good thing to be falling all over the place when you have babies in your belly. Sorry, this bun is driving me crazy. So I successfully carried my babies. They were not premature. They were 6 pounds 3 ounces and 5 pounds 10 ounces. Both of them were 19.5 inches long. So they were big babies. They weren't premature, which was great. And I was not healthy after, because I had a C-section, because their heart rates were going down, and it just wasn't advisable for me to wait to deliver naturally. So I'm in the hospital, and instead of getting discharged after 3 days, I wound up staying 4 days because I wasn't doing so hot. And I got discharged, and I came home for one night, and by the next morning, I was back in the hospital with a horrible uterine infection. And I was in there for another week on so many antibiotics, it was ridiculous. After I came home, my health was kind of okay. I was healing very, very slowly from my C-section, and we weren't kind of sure what was going on, but at the time, I didn't want to have my kids in Missouri. I wanted to have them in Jersey, so we had moved to Jersey temporarily, and then we have moved back to Missouri. So when we got back to Missouri, it seems like everything just started happening. Everything just started going wrong. I wasn't doing good. I would have my period for like a month straight, and then I would have like a week off, and then it would come again, um, which was really annoying and really painful. And it wouldn't just be regular cramps, it would be like debilitating pain where I would be doubled over. And although I didn't work, I stayed home with the babies because it was cheaper than getting daycare for two newborn babies. By the time you factor in gas, getting them there, and everything else, it was just cheaper for me to stay home. So I got the choice to stay home, the option to stay home with my babies. But it was really difficult because here I had two brand new babies and I had never had babies before, so I didn't know what I was doing. And um, they did not sleep on the same schedule. They were not kind to me that way. They were on different schedules, but I loved every minute of it and I would do it again in a heartbeat. So I had to deal with that, and my heart was still racing all the time, and I was still passing out. But I wasn't passing out for long periods of time. So it was, and I had a kind of a warning like I would feel really disconnected and disoriented. So whenever I felt like that, I immediately would put the kids in the crib so they were protected. And then if I passed out, I wouldn't have to worry about them injuring themselves or hurting themselves or getting into something. Um, Fast forward to about a year of this, and I had seen doctors during this time. I was in and out of the hospital, and luckily the job that he had then was very understanding and very forgiving of his absences. And it was funny because he was a corrections officer, so I would be in the hospital and it would just be a parade of officers coming to see if I was okay. And it was kind of funny because some of the nurses would be like, why are there so many officers here? And like if my husband had to go to work, there would be an officer that would come and he would pretty much stay with me the whole night to make sure I was okay. And if I needed anything, they were there. And I have so much love for them. They were just amazing. His job was just so amazing. And they just treated me like a princess, basically. And I'm okay with that. So we wound up having to leave. I went back to New Jersey because I needed answers because I wasn't getting answers here. And when I went back to New Jersey, I found a GYN that suggested I may have endometriosis. She did the surgery, come to find out I had endometriosis. So that explained the period, but it didn't explain the heart. And I still don't have an answer for the heart. um, so I had multiple surgeries to remove endometriosis. I had my left ovary removed. I had scar tissue removed. They believe that the endometriosis formed in my C-section scar or something like that. So that was that. And then eventually I had a total hysterectomy in 2010. 2009. I'm sorry. Um, so that was a very sad time and a dark time for me. I still struggle with it now. Now I'm more okay with it on most days, but back then it took me years to get over it, years to realize that, to get over the fact that I could no longer have any children. I wanted more children, even though I have four babies. Um, I have my twins that I physically gave birth to, and then I have my two babies that were there when I came and met my husband. I'll word it like that. Um, because they're just my babies. And so here I am, a mom of four kids, and two live with us, and I just was going downhill physically. I started developing seizures, and I would have seizures. A few times I was hospitalized because the seizure, and when I fell, I hit my head, so I had a little bit of memory loss. It was my short term memory that I couldn't remember, and it would be like I only could retain 15 minutes. And then after that, it was kind of like my brain reset. So from what I hear, it was scary, and they would write things on the board so I would know where I was and I could remember because you couldn't be there all the time because we still have babies. When I started having seizures, they were only two. So We didn't want to have him in the hospital that much and things like that. So it was a very scary time. And I went through that for about a year before they figured out that I had, at the time, they thought I had normal pressure hydrocephalitis. But they didn't even believe me. This is why I'm like, be your own advocate, because my journey through doctors has been a difficult one. I've had doctors tell me that I'm making it up, that it's all in my head, that I just want attention, that I'm wasting their time. I've heard all of these things, and I'm like, no, there's something wrong. And then my neurologist at the time, he didn't believe I was having seizures until he had me on. He's like, oh, I'll prove that you're not having seizures. And he put me on an EEG machine to measure my brain waves. And lo and behold, I had a seizure while I was on the machine. And he's like, oh, I guess you are having seizures. And he admitted me to the hospital. So that started my revolving door of hospital visits. And it was just a mess. It was a whole mess. I was not happy. My husband wasn't happy. The kids were scared all the time. Um, I had to teach them how to call 911 if something happens. They were four, and I came up with the 911 song. And for anyone that has little kids, I recommend teaching your kids something important with songs because they tend to remember it. So the song that I came up for 911 is, if you're scared and don't know what to do, call 911 and they'll help you. So that was my 911 song, and they remembered. So that way, when they got scared, because mommy wasn't responding, they would call 911. And unfortunately, not only did the twins have to call 911, but my eldest daughter also had to call 911 a few times. And I feel bad for putting them in that situation, but in the same time, I know that it's not my fault. But that took a while to get to that conclusion. Like, it took a while. I felt guilty for a long time that I had to put my babies through this. For a while, I even thought it was best if I just left and so they didn't have to see it. But obviously, I was just suffering a little mentally and I was depressed and I was just having a very hard time. And there was just nothing anybody could do. My husband was very supportive and was like, no, it's not you. My kids were like, mommy, you're fine. My mom, my sisters, everyone was so supportive. And it didn't matter. When you get to a certain point of lowness, you're just like, nothing you say is going to make a difference. Um, so finally, I got over that with the help of a few therapists and just some reflection and some prayer. And I'm not a very religious person, but I do pray. Um, so yeah, I got over that. And then my seizures, if they figured out that I was having seizures because I had pseudotumor cerebri. So once they put me on the medicines for that, then my seizures calmed down, and I'm happy to say I've been seizure free for over 6 years now. So that's good, but I do have to take seizure medication and I have to take my head medicine, and it just seems like the pills keep doubling because shortly after they figured that out, then they found out that I have a lazy stomach or the gastroparesis. Um, they thought I had irritable bowel too, but I don't. It's just part of the gastroparesis. I still have endometriosis. I have fibromyalgia. I developed persistent bursitis in both my hips, especially my right hip. And I have sciatica problems. And my body's just falling apart. And it's okay because I realized that through all of my experiences, through everything that I have been through, and that's including from childhood to now. My childhood was not an easy one. I'm not going to ever get into that on this channel, but let's just say that I did not have a normal childhood and I didn't have an easy childhood. But all of my experiences have led me to have the strong desire to want to help people. Um, I reach out to people as much as I can that are newly diagnosed with things. I'm part of support groups to try to help people. I've even told my doctors, if you diagnose someone with like endometriosis or fibro or, pseudotumor cerebri, and they say, is there a support group? Feel free to give them my number. It's okay. I don't care. Um, I know how scared I was, and I wish I would have had someone close to talk to who was going through what I was going through. Um, and I know a lot of people, especially with endometriosis, a lot of people don't understand, and they think, oh, it's just a woman problem. Oh, everybody has cramps. And it's more than that. It's a little bit more in depth than just regular cramps and regular pain. It's debilitating. It is horrible. I mean, the only way I can describe it is imagine a chainsaw that's not only covered with like the regular chainsaws, but like on the sides it has like broken glass and nails and knives, and it's just running through your insides. That's what it feels like. Um, so yeah, that's a little bit of my story from where I wanted to start it from and till now. We're still working on to figure out what's going on with my heart. It's still racing, unfortunately, even though I am on two heart meds. I think I take a total of 12 different meds. I think it's 12, could be more. I'm not going to count it right now, but I'm pretty sure it's 12. So, yeah, that's pretty much about it. Something that someone else has suggested that I do. This was a suggested video. Someone was like, you should tell your story. So, thank you for suggesting this video, Karina. I appreciate it. And another video that was suggested is that I do a day in my life, and just show you how I navigate my day with being sick. Um, so I will do that a few times. Um, and it'll be interesting for me because my days are never the same. I don't know what my day is going to be like. I could wake up and feel fine, and in an hour I may not be able to walk, or I can walk all day and be fine all day, or I could get up and be really ill and have to go to the hospital. So I never know what my days are going to be like. So I am excited to share that with you guys, just so you can get a little bit more insight of what my day is like. I'm sorry this video is so long. I should have told you to grab a snack or something. Um, Actually, you know what? If you're watching this, I probably put it in the beginning. But thanks for all the support. Thanks for all the love. Thanks for all the care. I appreciate you all tremendously. And I hope everyone has an amazing evening. And until next time, deuces and be well. Bye.